Part 2, Chapter 15. Home. My slow, staggering steps carried me through the lifting rain, biased to quiet and isolation, instilled by just past events. The new trauma weighed heavily, nestled deep in my core and forming a pit in my gut. I idled somberly at the front door, the outside motion light switching off and the cold reaching my bones. The ring, given to me by Chrism, was pinched between my index finger and thumb. I twirled it gently, my decadent gaze stuck on the welcome mat, tracing every letter over and over. The tapping of rain sliding from the roof's edge and buzzing of faraway street lamps accompanied me in this time of despair, tethering me to the ground while my spirit continued to align. My body felt normal, though at the same time abstract. The proper weight, muscle, and sway in my limbs aligned with my embedded perception. However, I still expected to find that room behind every blink. Another illusion, a false escape. It didn't seem all that irrational to believe I never escaped. That this was the reality my remaining consciousness conjured up following a ruthless death. At any moment, I might find myself floating. But that moment never came. I did, indeed, escape the pit, but was thrown into a deeper hole. In truth, I wasn't debating on what Chrism said. My mind was made up the moment this ring touched my flesh. I just wanted to make sure that this was real. Whether Alice liked it or not, I choose peace, even if only temporary. Somehow, I knew Chrism was confident in this choice. If she wanted, she could have slid this ring on my finger while I was unconscious. It's all part of her plan. The ring slid on my right index finger with ease. Once it reached the knuckle, it tightened very slightly, then sent a jolt through my hand. I twitched with a soft grunt of discomfort, but it diminished almost immediately. What followed was the sensation of submerging my whole body in warm water. The world was muffled, and a thin veil of heated air blurred my vision as the spell went into effect. Seconds later, everything returned to normal, and I was left feeling uneasy. Alice remained quiet. I knew she would be upset, but only for selfish reasons. I know she'll get a sense of cabin fever, unable to release the energy into any meaningful target, but I plan on doing as Chrism said, practicing. A new sense of identity washed over me, and I lifted my head with a smile. For once, the anxious pressure of screaming paranoia was null, and I felt almost free. I hastily opened the front door with new vigor, but had to remind myself of the time. Slowing my entrance, I shut the door behind me silently and absorbed the enclosed atmosphere within the hall. The house was dark, except for a small nightlight on the wall directly ahead and the flickering light from the television. I tiptoed my way across the floor, discarding my damp shoes in a shoe tray by the door. Unfortunately, the rain soaked through everything, so my socks left a small foot trail across the carpet. I made a straight path from the door to the bathroom, glancing to my left at the TV and seeing some cartoon playing and a lump of blankets on the floor. Inside the bathroom, I shut the door and felt the whir of the ventilation fan above kick on. I stripped out of my clothes immediately and bundled them up, wrapping them in a dry towel and placing it on one of two baskets. In the other basket was a pair of my pajamas. They had been worn twice already, but one more time couldn't hurt. Besides, I'll be taking a shower in the morning anyway. Before getting dressed, I used a small hand towel to dry my body and hair. Refreshed, I exited the bathroom and stopped outside the door, taking the time to stretch. Every toe cracked, along with my ankles and lower back. Lightheadedness flushed over me and wobbled me as I advanced toward the couch. I could still see the reflection of myself from within my mind. The version of me in that room, missing most of its body. The little mirror of me in that off-putting cage. These images kept me rigid. Stopping behind the couch frame, I leaned on the spine and watched the TV flash colorful images. The silence all around me helped immerse myself into the program for a moment or two, liberated from any fears of demons or the darkness behind me. My eyes tracked down and saw Tansu lying on her back, blanket folded down by her waist. One hand rested under her shirt and lay flat on her stomach, while the other was crooked up by her head, laying flat by her ear. Her mouth was slightly open, and a somber transfer of air in and out came from her lips. So tender and naive. I couldn't help but smile with tearful eyes at her image. Up until now, I wasn't sure about this world, but now I knew I was home. Carefully, I moved around the couch and climbed over the arm to take a seat. My blankets were bunched up at the far side, so I rustled them, trying to unravel the mess. But a clump of blanket flipped over the edge of the couch and plopped on her face, stirring her partially awake. A feeble grunt and a gentle adjustment before she pushed the blanket aside and her eyes peeled open. The childlike gaze fell on me, and her chest fluctuated with new air. "Kim?" she questioned groggily. I placed my feet on the floor and leaned forward with my elbows. "Done. Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you," I whispered apologetically. She yawned and rubbed the sleepy tears from her eyes, leaving them puffy and red. "What time is it?" she asked. I leaned back and looked at the microwave. "Almost 11, I answered, then looked back down at her. She nodded, her muscles lagged and eyes fluttered. Then she smiled. "Hey," she spoke slowly, "I think my headache's gone." "Your headache?" I replied. "Mm-hmm." I played along. "Oh, cool. I'm glad to hear it." She opened her eyes a little more and looked at me, her smile growing. Mine grew too, and I gave a light chuckle. "Hey, Tansu, will you do something for me?" "What's that?" she slurred. I took a deep breath and blissfully exhaled. I want you to sleep in your own bed from now on." She ogled with a spacey expression, but eased into lucidity. "But I don't want you to." I cut her off. "I'm not alone. Not with you and your mom so close by. What if you have another nightmare? I don't want you to go through that without me." "If I do, and it's really that bad, then I'll come to you," I assured her. She gave a look of unease. I reached down and extended my pinky finger. "You both have done so much, but I'm okay. I promise." A pause, then she released her apprehension and wrapped her finger around mine. "I believe you." "Good. Now get up and sleep comfy for once, will ya?" She sighed in a pleasant tone, then threw both of her arms above her head. She let out a long stretch and murmur before hoisting herself up and tossing her blanket over her shoulder. I grabbed her pillow and followed close behind into her room. Ignoring the light switch, Tansu tossed a blanket onto the bed with a feathery thud, and I mimicked with the pillow. She stood at the foot of her bed, facing it with reluctance in her bones. In my heart, I understood what she was feeling right now. To her, this was selfish of her, abandonment. Yet she was rationalizing my perspective, but was having trouble finding peace. That's what I imagined, anyway. So, I extended my hand and placed it on her shoulder. She relaxed and then turned around to face me. I wavered in place, then felt an abrupt inspiration. I leaned forward, pulling her in for a gentle hug. She embraced, and the butterflies in both of our bellies danced together. I could hear that copy of her, screaming in the dark. I winced and choked just for a moment, squeezing tighter. The thought of losing her to this game. I added, "Please don't feel like I'm kicking you out or distancing myself. I just want to be able to do this on my own, you know?" Tantu spoke kindly. "I understand completely, and I'm proud of you. I was wondering how long it would take before you wanted this." She smiled wide, eyes pinched. Her words crumpled my chest. I couldn't speak. In a moment or two, we released, and she stepped around the side of her bed and crawled in. The spring settled with her weight, and she expressed a shiver before releasing her tenseness. I watched her for a minute, appreciating every little memory we have shared so far. I wondered exactly how this past day had played out for them, if they will remember it how they lived it, or just the same as every other interaction. I regret the fact that they were touched by my corruption, but was relieved that they were no longer in danger, at least for now. It didn't take long before low snoring came from her bed. I looked to the shaded window. A light breeze lifted the curtain slightly, then settled, and I left the room. A beep from the smoke detector caught my attention, but was quickly disregarded. The TV illuminated the front of the couch, but cast a deep black shadow behind it, across the open space. Transfixed by a flashing shadow, I paused and watched with numb legs. The flickering light gave me vivid reminders of the stone rooms and the nightmares within my own mind. Clear images of the torches, hallways, and the cage bombarded my eyes and caused a ringing to erupt in my ears. Minerva's cries of anguish, calling for its mother as she chewed my flesh, disturbed me. From the corner of my eye, I saw her hulking shape crawl from the inky black. A blink, and it was gone. Never existed. I shook my head violently and scratched my scalp. I wasn't afraid of the memories, but I couldn't forget them. They were a part of me, experienced on a deeper level than my average insight. Those moments are ingrained in my very soul. They will fuel me. With gusto, I stepped across the deep shadow and rounded the couch again. I let my body collapse onto the couch and quickly wrapped myself in the blanket. Positioning on my back, I stared at the ceiling, listening to the whispers of the TV, the peaceful breathing of Kari in her room, and Tansu's renewed snores under the blanket. The ice maker in the fridge deposited a batch, and the outside streetlights hummed. A near 20 minutes passed with me not moving at all, waiting for a word from Alice, waiting for a drip of water to fall from the ceiling and land on my face. Any rotten stench or mind-numbing buzz, or even the smell of a freshly burnt-out match. I knew that I was free, but I could not shake the illusion. Maybe it was a side effect. Having Lyomek and Minerva within me, releasing demonic energy and damaging my actual soul, infected me and my perception. It will surely fade, but for now, I couldn't shake the writhing under my skin. My body was at ease while my mind grew restless. This overbearing sensation of eyes behind me grew too powerful. Ensuring secrecy and silence, I reached out to the coffee table and snatched the remote. A tingling warmth coated my flesh as anticipation rose. The remote rested loosely in my grasp, finger on the little red button dangling by the floor over the edge of the couch. Embrace the fear. Release my constraints, my crutches, and prove not only to myself, but to Alice and Sin, that I am not powerless. I pressed the button. The hushed commercials ceased, leaving a vacant ringing in my ears. The night swallowed everything in an instant. I am awake. This is real. I am awake. Stagnant in a dreamlike stillness, I glared where the TV had been. My eyes swirled with many magical colors of the air. My back felt hot, and my breath escaped my lungs as the hairs on my body stood on end. I closed my eyes and saw their faces. Everyone I've ever loved in this world, standing by my side. Even Alice. For all the wrongs we have done, and every mistake that I have made, it made me who I am. Everyone. I exhaled and left my lungs empty. As of now, my life is going to change. Again. I have to be better. I have to put in the effort to be myself again. My choices thus far have led to more bloodshed than I ever thought possible. More nightmares. In time, I will face him. Whatever my future holds for me, whenever fate decides my time has come, I will not back down. I can love. I can be loved. I am deserving of life. I will rebuild these bonds.